What's up, guys? Jeff here with Grit City Fitness and Performance, and today I want to talk to you about Forged in Fire. And I got this title or topic from I've been watching a show. It's on History Channel. It's called Forged in Fire, and if you don't know what it is, it's about blacksmiths who basically build and compete to make the most badass swords and weapons. So there's kind of a little lesson in here, okay? And let me basically explain. When you create a sword, it's a pretty interesting process. I like samurais and stuff, and they're probably one of the most badass warriors on the planet. And some still are alive, but they're probably starting to fade out quite soon. But samurais are basically a badass with a sword. And these swords are so strong that they can handle a ton of pressure being hit into them. They can take a ton of pressure being hit into. They can cut through, slice through, dice through, all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing. These swords take weeks, if not months, to create for a samurai. They take hours upon hours upon hours daily to make a sword for a samurai. Let me explain. So when they go and build a sword, they don't start with the sword. They start with a piece of metal, or whatever they're trying to build this sword out of. They start with a single piece of metal, and they have to shape it, bend it, pound it, heat it, cool it, sharpen it. All kinds of stuff has to take place for them to create this weapon, this sword for a samurai. It takes hours upon hours, days and days and weeks to make a perfect sword. And these swords take so long because they are an extension of the samurai's body. They are the weapon that gives them power to go into any battle and go into any fight against anybody and feel confident and powerful that their sword is, one, strong enough to handle anything that they need to hit it with, and that it's strong enough to take any abuse that they might put it through. So here's the lesson. Forged in Fire, okay? If you think that you're going to get results overnight, in a week, in a couple days, in a couple weeks, you're fucking wrong.
Expand.
Because just like a sword, it takes weeks upon weeks. A sword is easy. You can just hammer it, and again, it's not easy at all, but it has a shorter process than any of our goals. But the sword is a lesson, because when you create a sword, it takes hours and hours upon hours of work to build this weapon. You have to sharpen it, you have to tune it, you have to pound it, you have to heat it, you have to cool it. All kinds of stuff goes into this. So if you think you're going to get your results overnight, in a week, in a couple weeks, you're wrong. Because just like the sword, you must put in the work. And it's not going to be fast, it's not going to be easy, but it is going to be rewarding when you're done. Just like when a samurai gets his hands on that sword, he feels powerful. When you get to your end goals, you're going to feel powerful. But you must forge yourself in fire daily. And how you do this is, you do the shit that sucks. You do the stuff that's uncomfortable. You put yourself into pain a little bit by training or doing the things that are uncomfortable. You do the little tasks that you know that you're supposed to do daily. So if we think about this as building a sword, that might be hitting the sword over and over and over and over again to flatten it and smooth it. It might be grinding and sharpening with a pummel stone, just grinding and a sharpening stone over and over and over to make it perfect and sharp and deadly, to where if you just touched it with your finger, it would slice it open, right? Instead of just getting yourself that piece of steel and hoping that it's a sword. You have to fine tune it. You have to make your handle. You have to put in the work, okay? So you guys will, just like this piece of steel, you will have to put yourself in fire. You will have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You will have to do the work that is not fun and not pleasing, but it is rewarding when you get the sword made, okay? So, forge yourself daily. How do you do this? You do the things that are uncomfortable. How do you forge yourself daily? You do the things that you don't want to do. How do you forge yourself daily? Put yourself in the fire. How do you forge yourself daily? You put yourself in the cool water, all right? And after hours and hours and hours of this, you'll initially get a sword that could work. It can do the job. It could slice a little bit, but you'd still have to put a lot of power. It might be able to cut. It might be fairly strong. But the blacksmith is not done then. He continues to build the sword stronger, sharper, harder. So he continues to tool it, continues to sharpen it, continues to make it stronger by heating and cooling it. He continues to make sure that it is the most deadliest weapon he will ever release from himself and give to the new owner, which is a samurai. So, what can you learn from this? Every day, forge yourself in fire. Forge yourself and do the things that are uncomfortable that will give you the power and the strength daily to make yourself the best you possibly can. Don't let yourself be happy with just making yourself from a piece of steel to something that might be able to cut. Make yourself from that piece of steel to the most deadly weapon you could possibly make. Now, again, you might not want to be a weapon, but think about it just like that sword. You want to make yourself great. You want to make yourself the strongest, the best, the most functional piece and extension of yourself that you possibly can, guys. So every day, forge in fire. That's it.